Welcome to a world brimming with mystery and suspense, a world woven with the threads of true crimes that have baffled and intrigued the world. Here, nothing is as it seems, every story hides secrets, and every crime opens doors to unanswered questions. On our channel, we don't just narrate crimes, we delve into their depths, follow the clues, listen to testimonies, and uncover the hidden truths no one dares to talk about. How does an ordinary life transform into an unforgettable tragedy? And who lies behind the crimes that change the fates of victims and perpetrators alike? These are not works of fiction but chilling truths that might be closer than we imagine. From infamous criminal cases to unresolved mysteries, we will take you on a riveting journey that challenges logic, ignites curiosity, and raises questions. Are you ready to explore the dark side of reality? If you're looking for true stories that send shivers down your spine and stimulate the mind, join us now, where the shadows reveal their secrets. In 1985, the small town of Manitowoc awoke to a shocking news story that shook its foundations. Penny Bjornson, a beloved member of the community, had been violently assaulted while returning from the lakefront. The incident occurred in a quiet area with no eyewitnesses, putting immense pressure on the police to solve the case quickly. As the town boiled with anger, investigators scrambled to name a suspect to calm the storm. Amid this tension, the name Steven Avery emerged. Steven wasn't known for a bad reputation, but he was different enough to become a suspect. The police, lacking substantial physical evidence, relied on Penny's statement, in which she claimed to have identified Steven as her attacker. All other evidence, including testimonies confirming his presence far from the crime scene at the time, was ignored. In the courtroom, Steven stood bewildered, surrounded by accusations he didn't know how to refute. The trial was swift, resembling a play with a pre-written ending. Steven's court-appointed lawyer lacked the resources to conduct a thorough investigation. When the judge delivered the verdict, Steven felt his entire world collapse around him, 32 years in prison. For his family, the judgment was a declaration of war on the truth. The townspeople's gazes were filled with disdain, treating them as accomplices to the crime. Overnight, Steven went from an ordinary man living a quiet life to a hated criminal. In his first days in prison, he struggled to comprehend how he had ended up there. Everything he knew about the outside world slowly faded as the days passed, leaving him in near total isolation. Within the cold walls of his cell, Steven embarked on a journey filled with suffering and solitude. Prison was a harsh, unforgiving world where humanity was lost, and survival was for the strongest. He faced daily threats, especially after being labeled a rapist. In the prison hierarchy, it was the worst title a person could carry. Every day, Steven woke to the sound of heavy iron doors slamming shut. Food was scarce and often inedible. Yet, the psychological torment far outweighed any physical suffering. In one of his letters, he wrote, "I am here not because I am guilty, but because the system decided I was. This isn't a prison, it's an open hell." Writing became his sole means of staying sane. He kept a journal, documenting every moment of his long days behind bars. Letters to his family were filled with words of hope, though deep down, he knew escaping this nightmare seemed impossible. His family, despite the hardships, never abandoned him. They visited regularly, bringing him snippets of life from the town to keep him connected to the outside world. His aging parents, though worn down by the years, continued their visits, even as each one left them more heartbroken than before. As the years passed, Steven began to lose hope. He read about advances in DNA technology and wondered, could this be the key to his freedom? But he didn't dare dream too much. Still, something inside him refused to surrender. One day, he wrote in his journal, "I won't let these walls defeat me. My body may be here, but my soul still seeks justice." These words marked the beginning of a new phase of resistance. After 18 long years behind bars, in 2003, the moment Steven had never dared to imagine finally came. Thanks to developments in DNA technology, his legal team proved that the real perpetrator was not Steven Avery but a serial attacker named Gregory Allen. Allen, already known to law enforcement for his criminal record, should have been under surveillance but had remained free all these years. When Steven was released, his emotions were a mix of joy and sorrow. He had regained his freedom, but the years lost were gone forever. Standing before the media, he declared, they stole my life, and now they return something that can never be replaced. Steven returned to his hometown, only to find that the world had moved on without him. Some people saw him as a victim of a corrupt system, while others continued to view him with suspicion. Even his family, despite their deep love for him, struggled to adjust to the man who had come back after all those years. Steven resolved to fight for justice. He filed a lawsuit against local authorities, demanding significant financial compensation for the years stolen from him. For Steven, this lawsuit was more than an attempt to rebuild his life. It was a way to confront the system and force it to acknowledge its mistake. In 2005, as Manitowoc County was settling back into its usual quiet, the disappearance of young photographer Teresa Halbach turned everything upside down once again. Teresa, who worked for an auto photography company, was last seen on Steven Avery's property. That day marked the beginning of another nightmare. Within days, the charred remains of bones were discovered on Steven's property, along with personal belongings linked to Teresa. Suddenly, the police found themselves with what seemed to be damning evidence. Instead of conducting a meticulous investigation, the authorities hastily pointed to Steven as the prime suspect. For Steven, it felt like the prison had come back for him, this time without the bars. The investigation began amidst intense media coverage. A key said to belong to the victim's car was found in Steven's home, but only after several searches, raising questions about the integrity of the investigation. The DNA analysis tying him to the crime was conducted under suspicious circumstances, with doubts about how the samples were handled. In the midst of this chaos, the name Brendan Dassey emerged. Brendan, Steven's 16-year-old nephew, was a simple-minded teenager with an intellectual disability. The police exploited him, casting him as the perfect witness against his uncle to close the case at any cost. In a desperate bid to solidify their case, the police summoned Brendan for questioning. The young boy sat in the interrogation room, surrounded by seasoned detectives who preyed on his naivety and lack of experience. No lawyer or guardian was present to protect him. Over hours of questioning, the investigators bombarded him with complex questions, and when he failed to provide the answers they wanted, they pressured him until he offered a narrative that suited their version of events. In the video recordings, Brendan appeared confused and frightened, shifting nervously in his seat and giving inconsistent answers. His words were sometimes vague, sometimes nonsensical, reflecting his inability to grasp the gravity of the situation. At one point, he asked, "Can I go home after this? I have homework to finish." This statement alone was enough to show that he did not comprehend the severity of his predicament or its consequences. Despite this, the police used Brendan's coerced confession to bolster their case against Steven. In court, the prosecution heavily relied on his testimony to convict his uncle. However, the defense argued that Brendan's interrogation was unlawful and that the police had applied immense psychological pressure to force a confession that fit their narrative. These arguments, however, were not enough to save Brendan from the court's judgment. Brendan was sentenced to life imprisonment, just like his uncle. For his family, the verdict was another devastating blow. They saw Brendan as an innocent young man who didn't understand the legal complexities he had been dragged into. He had once dreamed of becoming a professional wrestler, but those dreams were crushed under the weight of an unforgiving system. In 2015, Netflix turned the tide by releasing the documentary series Making a Murderer. The series focused on Steven and Brendan's cases, highlighting investigative errors, police coercion, and glaring flaws in the evidence. Millions of viewers around the world tuned in, finding themselves confronted with a harrowing tale of judicial injustice. The series was not just a recounting of events, it was a call to examine the justice system itself. People reacted to the story in unprecedented ways. Steven and Brendan's case became a global topic of conversation, sparking online campaigns demanding the reopening of their trials. Despite the worldwide attention and public pressure, the fate of the two men remained unchanged. Steven and Brendan continue to serve life sentences, while questions about their innocence or guilt linger unanswered. Their story has become a symbol of the debate over the fairness of the justice system and the impact of societal pressures on the pursuit of truth. The story of Steven Avery is not merely about a man accused of a crime. It's a story about a justice system that can falter and about lives forever altered by mistakes that may never be corrected. To some, Steven and Brendan are living proof of judicial corruption. To others, they are a puzzle yet to be solved. The unanswered question remains: could it be that the ultimate victim is the truth itself? And so ends the tale of Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey, a story of suffering, suspense, and mystery. Yet it is not just a story, it is a mirror reflecting the flaws of the justice system and our questions about fairness. Were they truly guilty, or were they victims of a system that failed to uncover the truth? What do you think? Do Steven and Brendan deserve their fate, or is there a mystery yet to be unraveled? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, if you're interested in more true stories that captivate and provoke thought, subscribe to our channel now. Hit the notification bell to stay updated with every new release, and don't forget to support us by liking and sharing the video with those who love delving into the depths of reality. We're here to tell the stories, and you're here to uncover the truth. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.